All right, so for this color wheel setup, and on the back, I'm just quickly gonna draw this like as easy as I can. But all it is, the setup is, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of draw a cross on the paper. So we're gonna do some measurements and drew a cross. And then all we're gonna do is gonna draw like a target or a donut. Some people say it's like a donut. So it's gonna be like one circle and then a second circle. And then the color wheel is actually, we're gonna split this up into sections, into 12 sections. And we're gonna use these sections as our spots to draw our colors. So with the ruler and a compass, we're gonna make it much neater. But if you don't have those tools, then you can hand draw them as best and as neat as you can. So I'm gonna go with this felt tip pen. First thing we're doing is we're gonna split this in half. One line going vertical, one line going horizontal. So I'm gonna measure my paper in the portrait orientation. And my paper and the paper for you guys in class is about 8.5 inches. So I'm gonna measure right here about 4 1/4 at the top. And then I'll do the same thing at the bottom, 4 1/4. And I'll connect those two and draw my first line. Oh, this pen is not cooperating. All right, once I have that first line, then I'm gonna switch this over to the landscape orientation. And I'm gonna measure this paper again. So our paper is about 11 inches. So we're gonna split that in half. That's gonna be about 5.5. Measure once at the top, slide my ruler down, measure once at the bottom. And once I have those two marks, I can connect those and make my second line. Okay, so this is first thing, splitting the paper into quarters. Now, we're gonna have, like I said, the target or the donut or whatever you wanna call it in the middle of the paper. It's gonna give us a little bit of room at the top to label, a little bit of room at the bottom to label. So what I wanna do is I kinda wanna give myself some reference marks on what size I want these lines for the color wheel. So the first one, I'm kind of working off of this hole punch. I'm gonna go in, maybe like 1/2 inch, and give myself a reference line there. And then from this reference line, I mean, if I actually wanted to measure, I mean, I'm probably gonna go about 1.5 inches and give myself another reference line. And now that I have these, then I can draw my other, these are gonna be the reference marks for my circles. One circle there, one circle there. And the compasses I gave you, just in case you don't know how to use them, it has this little metal rivet, and that is gonna be the center. So we're gonna line that little metal rivet with the center where our lines intersect. And then all you do, let me show you real quick. You hold down, because it has like this clear part, and it has this orange part. You just hold down that clear part, and you just kind of pick whatever size you need, and you give it a spin. You kind of got to work around your hand, but that's how it works, right? So we have the center here. We have these two reference marks. I'm going to line this up here. And then I'm going to try to pick the hole that I think lines up the best with the reference mark that I made. And for me, it kind of looks like it's going to be this one, the one that's going to line up the best. So I'm just going to take my writing utensil and continue that all the way around. Then I'll do the same thing with that one. Right, line it up. Then I'm going to pick the dot that I think goes best with that circle, which is going to be this one. Just kind of work around until I have my completed circle. And that's the next step, right? So now it kind of looks like we have a target, right? Target. The last thing we got to do, we got to split this up into 12 sections, which means each one of these quarters is going to be 3. So it's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12. 12 in total. So, I mean, we could actually take a protractor and like measure the angles and, you know, make them all perfect. But we're just going to eyeball this. So from here to here, we're going to try to split this up into 3 sections, about as equal as we can. Now, if they're a little bit off, it's okay. What you don't want is like a really thin piece and then like 2 big old fat ones. As long as they're close, you'll be okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to measure the 2 tops, top left, top right, and that'll give us some reference marks so we can make our lines all the way across, top and bottom. So for this section here, I'm starting with this one. I'm just kind of, okay, if I draw a line there, I'm just trying to visualize and trying to split this into thirds. I'm giving myself some reference marks, right? Now just from here, I can kind of see that this middle piece is a little bit fatter, but as long as they're close, it's okay. As long as we don't have like a really thin piece, it'll be okay. So that's one top right. Now I'm gonna do the top left. I'm gonna try to do the same thing. I'm gonna try to see if I can split this up into 3 sections that are close in size. And those are my reference marks. So now, it's kind of what I did. Reference marks to split those up. Now I can take my ruler. And if I take my reference mark, connect the reference mark with the center, I can mark the top and the corresponding bottom half of the wheel. So I can mark this section at the top, and I can also mark this section at the bottom. Now we're not gonna do the line all the way across, just inside of this donut. That's all we're gonna do. We're not gonna do the line all the way across, just inside of our donut shape. That's my second reference mark. So I will connect it with the center. Reference mark and center. I can draw that line. And I can draw the opposite bottom line. Boom. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other 2 reference marks. Reference mark connected to the center. Draw the top side and the opposite bottom. Then the last one will be this one. Reference mark, center. Do the top and the opposite bottom. And that is my color wheel setup with 12 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Last thing you want to do, because all these wheels are going to look the same, especially you guys in class, you're going to flip it over to the back. Put your name on the bottom right-hand corner. And put a nice big number for whatever class period you're in. Okay, whether it's in first, second, third, fourth, put a big number by your name so we know what class it comes from. And that is our color wheel setup.